Hi, everyone. Looking forward to chatting with you all today. I'm going to be talking a bit about when to say no to building or shipping an AI feature. Um, let's dive in. So, to start out, I'm curious, if any of you have ever heard some of these things from either your executive team, investors, maybe even your product manager. Things like, what's your AI strategy? Can't we just build that with AI? We're an AI first company. Um, Feel free to respond in the chat. I know AI is really hyped up right now. We've had some really exciting talks so far at Elevate too around building with AI or how to think about building ethically with AI. And I think right now, especially, it's such an exciting time to be building and learning and growing. Now more than ever, given how much Gen AI and agentic AI has become even more widely available to us. Um, and I think it's also time to take a step back, pause, and think about what we're building and how we're building it and the impact that those things can have on the world. Um, so to ground us here in a few examples, we have many, many cautionary tales of AI features that have gone wrong or, not gone quite according to plan, as one might say. These are just a few examples I thought to call out at the beginning here. In 2016, in the top left corner, we have Tay, which was an AI social media chatbot that Microsoft launched. And they quickly had to take it down. Within the first 16 hours, it had tweeted over 95,000 messages that included racist, misogynistic, and anti-Semitic messages. Um, we also had more recently in 2023 the case filed by Roberto Mata for his injuries. His lawyers actually used ChatGPT to help draft the brief for his case, which included at least 6 different citations of made-up cases, which they didn't fact check in that moment, so it was submitted to the courts. This is another example of, potential need for oversight. And then some slightly different example, in 2021, Zillow actually had to halt. They had this home flipping program as part of their business called iBuying or Zillow Offers due to significant financial losses. Their predictive algorithm was meant to help forecast the potential to sell and flip the homes and for the financial upside of doing so. Um, Through the program, they had bought over 27,000 homes, cut 25% of their workforce in response to basically the financial losses that they accumulated from buying those 27,000 homes and not being able to sell them at the rate that their financial model had predicted or what the potential upside there. So these are 3 examples. There's many more of examples of different AI features or use cases of AI in which, um, I wish, I'm sure all of us had wished there were potentially either more diverse teams thinking about these things from the outside, from the outset, like we heard from some of the previous speakers today, or just someone else, on the team potentially working and building on the features that maybe could have raised a question around what is the potential downside here? What's the impact going to be? Should we be building this? Is this the right thing to be building? Um, and I think potentially some of these um, features could have been prevented from that building zone of behind the scenes of who was on the team if someone had stepped up and said no in that moment. So to jump into my personal example here, I am head of engineering at Formally, like Angie mentioned, and here at Formally, we're an early stage company in the immigration space. So we are building a collaboration platform where folks who want to immigrate to the US can log on, share their documents and data securely with their lawyers and legal team, as well as with their employers if it is an employment-based visa um, visa process that they're going through. And one of the fun things we do at Formally is we do different hackathons, a lot of which over the past few years have been AI themed. It's a really awesome way for us all to learn together and dip our toes into new things that we haven't tried out before, both for folks on the technical side as well as the non-technical side too. We've had teammates learn to code in these hackathons, which is really fun. Um, but one specific example that ties into this whole topic of when not to build AI, even though I'm talking about all the fun we're having when building with AI, was last year. We ran a whole hack week that was AI focused. And so the team really had awesome opportunities to learn together and collaborate over the course of an entire week in our office in San Francisco. That's what's pictured here on the screen. And one of the amazing features that the team spent a long time or one of the teams spent a long time building was a chatbot that was meant to help address the user pain point that we had heard from a few of our lawyer customers, our legal customers, where they would get a lot of questions from global mobility teams, HR team members for the employers they were helping sponsor their visas, which is good. You know, we love getting people the information they need to help support their employees, but a lot of the questions were repetitive. So the legal teammates felt like they were answering the same type of question over and over again and wanted a better way to share the information around immigration with those HR teammates and global mobility folks at the employers. And so our team, one of our AI Hack Week teams, came up with an AI-powered chatbot to actually help interface and respond to those HR teammate questions that were coming in. Um, Super cool. They got a working product by, I think after this was just a 48-hour hack. So, you know, we're able to integrate it into our full platform seamlessly. But at the end of the hack week, we were reviewing the projects and deciding which ones we wanted to launch or not launch, as we do for all of our hackathon projects, AI or not. And we realized, or I realized that there was potential for the chatbot to hallucinate and provide potentially inaccurate responses. We were not going to have the time and resources to build out the proper guardrails to actually ensure that the chatbot was not providing legal advice, which is really critical and something that we absolutely don't want to provide to our customers. Since a chatbot is not a lawyer, that's very different. And also, was worried about just not being able to provide significant resources to be able to support that type of chatbot in a way that was going to be safe and have the guardrails it needed to be a successful and helpful product too. So if we weren't going to be able to do that and provide, support on our side for that type of feature launch, it wasn't the right thing to give to our customers. So I actually, in the review meeting, pushed back against our CEO. She was really excited about the chatbot and said, "Hey, I don't think this is what we should be building," and cited, a few examples. We actually at Formally have published guidelines both internally and externally that we review when deciding whether to launch AI features, because it's so important to have and ensure that we're launching these features ethically up to our ethics standards in a way that we think can actually help our users. And so I was able to cite those when I was pushing back, even though, she was very excited. And also, recognized while I was pushing back the hard work that the team put in and was able to say, hey, folks, I know this was a really exciting project that you all worked on. I saw great collaboration while you were working on it. And I think we learned a lot while building it too. So I don't think it's a lost project, even if we can't launch it. I think the learning that came out of it, we can potentially apply to other things down the road in the future too. And just recognize the hard work that went into it too. So, oops. Here are a bit of an overview of how we here at Formally think about our ethical AI guidelines that I cited before. Part of what I mentioned, no legal advice ever. We also try to ensure that all of our AI features always have a human in the loop, whether that's with generative AI responses of helping, lawyers draft different letters or responses to clients, or even on the client side too, reviewing the data that has been pre-identified as particular data points by one of our AI features. That's really important to us. And then also doing this ethics review that I mentioned before launching any of our AI features or AI-powered features. And there's a link there if you want to go check it out. Cool. So, diving in, I hope this inspires you potentially to think about pushing back on your team if you see something or are seeing a feature or a product or even a pipeline being built, whether that's AI or not AI, to actually, AI based or not AI based, to actually have the confidence to push back. And so things I think that work for me, hopefully they help you too, is actually taking the time to speak up first. I know it takes a lot to actually speak up, especially when everyone's so excited right now. AI is all the hype, I know. Um, but actually take the courage and the confidence to speak up and share out your opinions. Um, and then as you're framing how you're going to push back, think about what the decision makers care about, who you're talking to. For me, it was our CEO and the teammates who had worked really hard on that project. So I had to think through, okay, what has my team already agreed on? This was pretty easy for me since we had already agreed to this ethical AI guideline. So I could actually cite and, pull up our guidelines again and say, hey, this is what we agreed on as a team. This is how we agreed we'd move forward with projects, and I don't think we've quite put in the resources to meet the bar here. So I don't think that we're ready to launch this. What do you all think? And so that was easy. Another way you can think about it is some people are really data driven, so pulling up examples or data points to help you make your case might be the way to do it. Um, and maybe even if your team doesn't have ethical guidelines around how you're thinking about launching your AI projects, maybe this could be inspiring to go write some too, so you have them moving forward. And then I think the third thing too for me that worked well in this situation was being kind, recognizing that the team did put in hard work to build that feature and that they were proud of it too. It's difficult to push back when folks have, put a lot of their effort and their hours and they were excited to show it and excited to hopefully have it come into the product and become live and living on our site. And so I recognized that hard work that went into it and the learning that went into it and made sure to not discount that either and call out, maybe this is not lost learning. It sounds like we learned a lot while building this, and we can apply that moving forward in the future too. So I hope this helps you speak up and potentially say no the next time you see a feature being built or even a use case of potentially how your product could be used down the line in a way that you weren't expecting, to think through either ways to say no or potentially push back or advocate for more guardrails, especially around this new exciting age of building so many different things that we didn't think were possible before. Cool. Well, thanks everyone. Here's a link to our site at Formally and my LinkedIn. Um, Open to any questions if anyone has them. Okay, looks like we have a question on my point number 3, be kind. Sure, I can expand a little bit more on that. So I think it's important to not just push back. Points. Yes, gotcha. I think it's important to push back in a way that is kind, especially when you're pushing back against someone's work that they've put out. Um, and I think it'll be received better. So if I had come into that meeting and was just like, oh no, we're not building that. There's no way, with no explanation and no follow-up, no counting in for other folks' emotions. I could have done that, right? I have the title, I could have done that. But I think it was received in a better way and with more understanding from the rest of the team when I took the time to explain why. behind it, as well as calling out and recognizing the hard work that they had put in and why it was so cool and why they were excited about it, and recognizing that it was, something to be proud of, even if it wasn't something that we were going to decide to launch in the end. So that to me was how I was able to be kind in that situation and have it be received um, from a positive space instead of having the team who built it feel like, oh man, I spent so much time working on this. I was really excited about it. And then, it didn't go through, it didn't get shipped. Ooh, interesting question. How do you recommend pushing back against AI features without being labeled as a Luddite? That's definitely a loaded question. I think there's different strategies you can employ there, specifically citing potentially other technical solutions potentially to those problems without involving AI. I think there are certain use cases where I've seen it work too that because of potential for hallucination, we didn't actually want to use an AI-based solution for the problem, even though it was possible. And so one example of that is actually where we do a lot of data point matching in our system. So taking in certain data and trying to match it to data points in our system. And that, is a great, so AI is great at doing data matching. That is something we've seen, something that's proven. But for certain of our use cases, we actually want 100% reliability. And so instead of using AI all the time live in production, we actually used some prompting along the way to have AI help us build the initial version of the matches and suggest matches to our team and then shipped a version of that live that was actually more of a hard-coded um, data matches because it was our curated list. And so I think building on top of something or being open to that experimentation with AI, even if it's not exactly what makes it into the production system, I think might help you be able to push back without being labeled as a Luddite. Okay. I don't know I'll have time to answer this last question, but I am reading it. Is there a decision matrix or process that can help us evaluate trade-offs or determine whether an AI product is appropriate or low impact for business need? I think that is so dependent on the business and the particular company itself. And that's why I think it is actually worth spending time to write and talk about and come up with guidelines, whether that's among your team or your company or your business. Because I think it should be catered to the individual businesses as well and not just a one size fits all solution. So that would be my recommendation for that one. Well, thanks, folks. I really appreciated it.